Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, satrikal, aloha, hola, bona, ciao, and bonjour. It's really, really awesome to be with you today. And I'm really happy to have a very special guest with us today, Beth Hewitt. She is also actually a podcast host at Visualize You. And she's also a spiritual performance coach and a spiritual entrepreneur. I'm so happy to have you with us, Beth. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Sammy. I'm really excited for our conversation today. So, yeah, thank you so
Yes.
much for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Will you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do before we dig into talking about our primary topic today?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you captured it at the beginning. So, I'm a podcast host of the Visualize You show, and that's a show all about sharing those inspirational stories of people who have pivoted and changed direction through life circumstances or through choice and have had the confidence to take that leap of faith to do what's always been calling them. And so I share those stories as well as doing some solo shows around visualization and gratitude and positivity and all of that good stuff. And then I'm also a spiritual performance coach. So I mainly work with spiritual entrepreneurs who are really looking to get more laser focused in achieving their dreams and aspirations, their goal, and also to go from feeling unfulfilled to kind of passionately living their life purpose as well. So yeah, that's me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And for you, what is the connection between the spiritual performance coach work that you do and the Visualize You podcast team, which is so focused on visualization?
Mhm.
What's the connection there?
I mean, the stories on the podcast inspire people to take that leap. And then I'm obviously working with people who have taken that leap to help them to fulfill their dreams. And, for me, they're very much connected because they're very much about me and my journey and my story and me feeling unfulfilled and then finally following my passion and purpose and becoming this spiritual entrepreneur myself. So I feel it's very holistically kind of tangled together. And because I focus on visualization, um, I help people create that vision using all of the senses and really feel into what that looks like when they've achieved their dreams.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that about it. And then you also talked a little bit about gratitude. Can you
Mhm.
tell me more? I think I would love to really focus our conversation today on the idea of gratitude. And I know you have a really, really deep and wonderful way of thinking about it and understanding it. So tell me more.
So, I mean, gratitude for me is the basis of being able to manifest and create and have more of the things that you want in your life.
Mm,
Because if you can't appreciate what you already have, it's very difficult to appreciate what you might have in the future, if we're not quite there. And so I firmly believe that if we have this foundation of gratitude, that we live in that kind of positive vibration, that we're able to attract more of that into our lives. And before you even think about visualizing or scripting or journaling and making that plan, we need to have that basis of gratitude.
mm,
So for me, it's a very important critical foundation, but it's also, I think, for some people do it naturally, or some people might do it around maybe Thanksgiving if you're in the US, for example, or at the beginning of the year, when you're setting your new intentions for the year. But not everybody does it all of the time, or in those times when we need it the most, when we're going through some difficult times. That's the hardest time to be able to switch that gratitude muscle on. But if you've been practicing it and if you're doing it a little bit more, creating it more of a habit, then it does start to become a lot more easier when those things come left field as they do in life. We get thrown these curveballs or something happens that we just were not expecting. And if we've got that base and grounding of gratitude, yes, we have to still feel all of those emotions and feelings that we're going through when we're ever going through bad things, but also we can eventually pull ourselves back to that more positive space as well.
Mm. Yeah, that is such an excellent point. And I mean, you actually raised a lot of really excellent points. But one of the things that you mentioned about how sometimes when we're going through the tough times, it's more difficult to
Hmm.
use our gratitude muscle. And yet, that is a really, really important time at which to use our gratitude muscle.
Yeah.
Um, but I can definitely relate to that sense of struggle that we can all experience actually being grateful during our downtimes.
Hmm.
And it just made me think about how, in our Muslim tradition, I'm a Muslim, and one of the, I would say, most commonly taught ideas, and even in the way that we speak to each other, one of the most common expressions that we use is this expression. In Arabic, we say Alhamdulillah, and in English, it basically translates to um, thanks be to God. You're basically thanking God, and it's a sort of
Hmm.
way to express gratitude for what we have. And the teaching is that no matter what the situation you are in, you should be thinking and saying, thanks be to God,
Hmm.
because that, even in difficult times, and in fact, especially in difficult times, to connect with that sense of gratitude is the key, oftentimes, to helping you begin to make that shift
Yeah.
towards being able to see the solutions and getting back your inner peace and all of that good stuff. So for me, I have always seen this practice of tapping into our gratitude as a very spiritual practice.
Hmm.
And so I really appreciate that in your uh, practice also, you see that spiritual aspect of practicing gratitude, of the visualization process, and so forth. Um, yeah, and I think last time we were talking, you were sharing with me how there's 5 different levels at which we can practice gratitude. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, well, I see there's kind of 5 different blocks, and I think you can really stack them in any order you want. But I kind of, when I talk about it, I
Yeah.
see them in these 5 different blocks. So the first block for me is when you're first starting out with gratitude, is to just look what I call everyday gratitude. You
Mm,
know, like anything that's in your sphere, your current circumstances, whether it's a pen, the ability to have a pen and ink and be able to journal your thoughts or make a to-do list, whether it's, I don't know, tomatoes or something in your fridge so that you can make a simple meal for your family, or having petrol or diesel in your car to be able to get your family from A to B. These things that we take for granted, we just go about our lives and we just do all of these things day in, day out, and we don't appreciate what we already have around us. And if you think how far, through history, you only have to look back a few centuries to realize that ancestors were in a very different place and yet they were still able to survive. But when you think what we've got today and how much easier we've got it, it's easily forgotten when we're just going about our day-to-day lives. So the first level for me would be everyday gratitude, because I think it's the basis and the level at which we can go, actually, I've got a lot around me already that I can be totally grateful for. So whatever circumstances you find yourself in, it could be, I'm happy that I've got a pair of shoes on my feet, or that I'm breathing, or that I've got somebody to call in emergency. It could be something as simple as that. And that for me is the first level of gratitude.
mm. That is really, really awesome. Thank you for pointing that out, because I know a lot of people like really struggle with finding
Mhm.
what they can be grateful for. I know there's like different gratitude challenges that I've been through. I mean, challenges in terms of like exercises and
Yeah.
practices to build the gratitude muscle. And I know when I first started these kind of practices, I had a very hard time coming up with a
Mhm.
list of things I could be grateful for. And I know I wasn't alone in that experience. A lot of
Yeah.
people struggle. And so
Mhm.
sometimes just looking around at all the stuff that you have, that can be a really easy way
Yeah.
begin that process. Awesome.
It's the start of it, isn't it? And
Mm,
so yeah, so I run challenges as well, and I like to call them journey. I can't call them gratitude journeys because I feel like it's more of a journey that you go on as you do the days, rather
yeah,
than the challenge, because challenge is this negative connotation. But I think people know what challenges are, don't they? So I don't think it's too far removed from what we're doing. But the second level for me is then kind of people experiences and opportunities that you've already had in life, or you've got currently coming up for you. So just recognizing the people that surround you, the friendships that you have, the networks that you have, thinking about the experiences that you've had in the past, whether that was to gain some qualifications or get a particular job, or maybe go on holiday and see some different cultures, that kind of thing. And it's
yeah,
starting to remember some of those things, people, experiences, and opportunities that we have in life that, again, we might take for granted, and we might think, oh, that was just a bit of luck, or yeah, I'm not that fortunate. That could have happened to anybody, when actually that might actually have shaped who you are, or shape the journey that you continue to go on, or something you do in the future, or the advice and wisdom you're able to share with somebody else. We don't see it as empowering as it actually is.
my gosh, that another really awesome point. Ah, that that reminds me about this one very specific exercise I learned from my happiness coach, where she was like, just think back and remember the most happy memories that you can, and be really
Mhm.
grateful for them. And she said that is actually one of the fastest way you can get back to feeling happy in
Yeah.
your life and feeling more peaceful and empowered, just by thinking of your happy memories from the past.
And that's exactly what I say when I do visualization with
Mm,
clients, and they're coming up with this new vision that they want to create, and it feels so far removed from where they are right now. But that feeling that they would have when they have achieved that, at
mm,
some point in the future, if they can link that to an existing memory, like you say, from the
yeah,
past, where they had that feeling of joy or abundance, or whatever that feeling was, whatever that feeling is for them in that vision, it is, like you say, easier to connect and go, actually, I've done that before, I've had that feeling before, I've achieved that level of joy, abundance, whatever, I
yeah,
can do it again in the future. And it becomes a lot more easier to connect those dots and go, yes, I can have this in my future. So yeah,
yeah.
I
And
agree
then
with your happiness coach
oh,
completely.
yeah. And it just made me think about how also when I was practicing thinking of my happy memories, or even when I think about my happy memories now, oftentimes one of the way it's really helpful is because it'll remind me of someone or something that I can actually use as a resource now,
Yeah.
to help me move forward or solve whatever current struggle I might be going through.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can utilize all of those resources and things from the past, can't we, to
Mhm.
to build a way forward, a path forward from where we are to where we are right now. So the third level is actually about that uniqueness that we have, our unique voice, our superpowers, those things that come naturally to us, and that might not necessarily come naturally to somebody else. So whenever people come on my podcast, I always ask them what their superpowers are. And the reason why I ask them that is we forget to pat ourselves on the back.
Mm,
We just have these things, whether it's being calm in chaos, or we're intuitive, or we're good at seeing the bigger picture and helping people solve things, whatever that superpower is for you, um like listeners, whoever's listening to this right now, those are amazing things to be grateful for, because they are so unique to
mm,
us.
What's your superpower, Beth?
I would say my superpower is intuition, positivity, and calmness.
Mm, I love it. Intuition,
What
positivity.
are your superpowers?
Um, I th- well, I have lots of superpowers. I love to climb.
Of course.
I think my favorite superpower that I'm really enjoying these days is just practicing giving and receiving unconditional love.
Mhm.
And by unconditional love, I mean loving myself and loving others just as I am and just as someone else may be. So without, uh, with so loving myself with all of my imperfections and all of the
Yeah.
darkness that I might have or any of the shadows that I might see in or around me, to just love myself just as I am and to do that for others as well, because I think that when I am able to receive that kind of love and when I give that kind of love, that is most healing for me. And it makes me the most happy and feel more, more at peace. So
Mhm.
that is the superpower I'm really enjoying practicing these days.
No, that's a great superpower. It's also a great superpower to show other people how to do that within themselves. It's like you're holding a mirror up to people, isn't it? You know, when you're able to love our shadow sides as well as all the other good stuff that we've got going on and feel comfortable in who we are and, holding that up to somebody else and allowing them to do that as well. I think
Yeah.
that's a really great superpower.
Oh, thank you.
And so the next level, I think we're about level 4, and I think like level 4 and 3 are interchangeable, but would be kind of your skills and the things that you've amassed, whether that's through training or qualifications, or you've just been working really hard at your craft and you've developed these amazing skills through sheer dedication and all of that. So I think having sight of what our skills are as well is another way to go, actually, I can be grateful for this as well because I can do this pretty good.
And it's interesting that you drew this distinction between the superpowers that we have that are sort of more associated with our nature or our characteristics, so to
Mhm.
speak, versus the skills that we develop that develop more over the course of our education and the training
Mhm.
that we receive over time. And so
Yeah.
with skills, it's like, okay, I can always learn more and develop other new skills. So
Mhm.
it's not like a static thing, and it can always be enhanced more over time. So it's a very cool distinction to have made. Yay.
Well, there is a distinction, but I think there's also the interlinked a little bit as well because say your innate superpower was calmness, but
Mm,
that may have come from living through some, lived experiences where you've had to be resilient. And so although you might have been innately calm,
mm,
that's almost been enhanced and your superpowers enhanced because you've been through those experiences.
yeah,
Or you may have gone on a counselling course, for example, and you've learned more about interacting with other people and resolutions to
yeah,
conflicts and that kind of thing. So they're definitely intertwined. I think sometimes we do find that it difficult to pull them apart and see them
yeah,
as distinct parts. So sometimes they're separate and sometimes they're intertwined a little bit. But I think that's what makes us unique and who we are. And
yeah.
um, mhm,
That's so true. And it also actually made me think about how a lot of times we're motivated to develop skills that are
mhm,
linked to our superpowers because we realize that, if we develop these skills, they will help us to use our superpowers more. And we're excited. Like, it's awesome to use our superpowers. It's like when we use our superpowers, it's actually one of the keys to how we are able to create and maintain more mental, emotional wellness
mhm, mhm.
in ourselves. But then it also made me think about how there are times when we develop skills and maybe develop them to a very a high degree, but they're not related to our superpowers. And now I'm thinking about how, for example, a lot of times in my Indian Pakistani culture, uh, as part of societal expectations and stuff, we're pushed to pursue specific careers. And the
Mm.
most historically popular ones were become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And so, so many of us, we would, go for those pathways and spend years and years studying to become doctors or lawyers or engineers and gain quite a high degree of competency even in those fields and the skills that, you learn in that process. But it and for so many people, it's not their path. It's not what really makes them happy to do. So even if
Yeah,
they can do it really well, it's not the
it doesn't
best
light
thing
them
for
up.
them to do. Yeah.
And that's kind of that's kind of been my journey. Is I always knew there was more to life. I always knew that there was a path that I was supposed to be on, and I couldn't find where that was supposed to be because
Mm,
having gone through the education system, there was nothing spiritual about it. There was nothing to talk about gratitude. There was nothing about visualization. There was nothing about, the more spiritual aspects of life. You don't get taught that at school. And yet I was thinking, but that's who I am. Where do I fit into
yeah.
this world? And so I would jump from career to career to career trying to find that. And that's why today I'm so passionate about helping people who are unfulfilled
Mm,
because they haven't been allowed the space or they haven't had the confidence to do exactly what it is that
um,
they want to do. I think you're right. There's so many people that have followed a certain path to get certain qualifications because that's what culture tells them, or their families or their peers have told them that's the route, or teachers, that's what they were supposed to do. But you know inside when you've got that longing, that whisper that's telling you that there's something more, there's something else that you are supposed to do.
yeah.
So I think it's acknowledging that we're on that path sometimes, and even though we're not doing the thing that we want to do, we can still take a lot of gratitude and appreciation just from being on that journey and what that teaches us
Yeah.
about ourselves. And that can be empowering. It can be flipping things on its head a little bit, even though you might have not enjoyed this path. Maybe you've fallen down into depression down somewhere because you were so miserable at one point. But actually you can find gratitude and appreciation in that fact that you can share that wisdom with somebody else and allow somebody else not to go down that route.
Yeah.
So it's finding the power in those, you know, difficult times as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a tricky one, but it's possible.
it is. And definitely by using our gratitude muscle in those contexts, it's a great
Mm,
way to sort of find the things that we learned in those challenging times or through whatever that process was. Like I'm thinking about, for example, now so many people that I've talked to who like, especially a lot of the coaches and trainers and healers that have been coming on this podcast and sharing their stories. Um, you know, uh, uh, like recently I was talking to a coach who, because of societal expectations and all of that kind of stuff, because of her family's insistent that she get a job that she'll be able to make good money at, she went and got a corporate job and was working in uh, in that corporation or over a period of time, a number of different corporations. But anyway, she was um, doing corporate jobs for like 10, 15 years. And then
okay.
finally she was like, enough is enough. This is like so toxic, the environment in the job, and she just couldn't take it anymore. And so she finally quit. And for a while she was like feeling a little lost about what to do with her life.
Hmm.
But then she actually got into coaching because she realized that a lot of what she did enjoy while she was doing these corporate jobs and so forth was this kind of coaching things. Like when she worked with
Yeah.
her fellow team members or the people that she was managing. And she'd be coaching them and training them. And that was something that she really enjoyed. And so then she was like, oh, why don't I, begin to use that and become a coach and a trainer now? And then she was like, okay, well, who do I coach and who do I train? And she tried different people that she tried helping. But eventually she realized, oh my gosh, there are so many people in the corporate world who need help, who need coaching and training. And because she already had connections in that world and so on and so forth, she was actually able to begin to specialize in helping people who are still working in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And so even though by sort of looking at and being grateful for the good things um, in that experience, even though there was a lot of things that made her miserable, but by focusing on the good things, she was able to find a new direction and a new way to sort of still tap into these resources and skills and tools that she had learned and still be able to get some benefit from even the connection and the relationships that she had built.
And I think it's giving ourselves the time to do that. We don't give ourselves the time to sit down and plot the highs and lows of our journey
Yeah.
down and go, actually, what are the bits that I
Yeah.
can take away from that experience? It's a very powerful exercise to do, but if you find yourself in a place where you're looking back and going, what was all of that about? How have I ended up here? Actually, just plotting that out and joining those dots can tell us so much about who we are and where we might be going next.
Yeah. And I bet the work you do with visualization is part of what helps people or can help people to connect those dots for themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes so they'll create this vision and it just feels so far away from where they are now. And so you have to do the action plan, you have to do the steps backwards of how we're going to get there. But also that's when those self-limiting beliefs might come up, or this sounds like a really good vision, but how is this going to happen? How am I going to make that happen? And so, we can work on that side of things as well. So yeah, it's a very enjoyable and interesting process. But when you see people's visions light up, and these are things that have always been there, but they've not given themselves a chance to really articulate to anybody else before or write down on paper, it's quite enlightening, I think, for everybody. when
Yes.
that happens.
Coolness. So what's the fifth way in which we can practice gratitude?
So the fifth one is really kind of taking all of those different aspects, the everyday, the superpowers, the talents and experiences, the people and opportunities that we've had, and being able to flick that switch on in those difficult times. So when you find yourself in a difficult situation, or where you're feeling down, or something bad happens, or somebody says something to you and you feel like your world's falling apart, for those moments, it's being able to take all of that and stop and recognize, actually, out of all of that, is there something that I can take away from this moment that is positive?
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Beth.
You're welcome.
Um, yeah. Is there anything else that you would love to share with us right now?
Well, I am running a visualization, not a visualization, a gratitude uh, journey challenge. I don't know when this podcast goes out, but I do run them at various times in the year. So if you're listening to it way in the future, I'm sure there'll be other challenges happening. And that's for 28 days, really helping people to understand these principles and just give themselves time to think about what they can be grateful for, and giving gratitude every day for 28 days on 3 different things. Because that's the other thing, is we can be grateful for things, and then we want to be grateful for the same things as we were grateful for yesterday or the day before that, but we need to expand our reach
Yeah.
around what we can be grateful for. So we do that every day for 28 days, and it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's amazing how much we've got in common as human beings. I did this time last year, well, nearer the end of nearer to closer to Christmas last year, and everybody was around few days after Christmas Day, everybody was really grateful for the new pajamas or the new dressing gown or the new something that they'd got. And it just made us all realize that, underneath it all, we like those comforting things, or we like a new jumper every now and again. We can be grateful for that kind of stuff as well. So it's just nice to be around people who, appreciate their own things as well.
Indeed. Oh my gosh. I just absolutely love again, oh my gosh, the idea of expanding our
Mm.
awareness of all the things that we have to be grateful for. And so to do that, like in terms of let's do this over a period of 28 days, I absolutely love it. Like 3 new things
No.
to be grateful for the next 28 days. And to do that in community that's really wonderful, because I know for me, if I said if I was like, oh, I love that idea, I'll do it. But if I try to do it on my own, I'll probably maybe do it for a few days and then fall off. So
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
really important that we have this sense of community support. And I'm sure anyone who participates in this gratitude journey with you will benefit from it so, so, so much.
Yeah, and I think you benefit from not just my challenge, but just gratitude generally. You benefit on more levels than you would
Yeah.
probably think. Because I think when we do give gratitude, it's a very, very solitude activity that we might do. We might write it down, or we might just say it in our head. We don't really verbalize that. But when you're actually sharing appreciation in a community with other people, you
Mm,
also start to share appreciation around your home, or where you go into your own local communities or in the shops. And you realize that the more appreciation you're giving out, more people are giving it back to you, and you start to receive. When I
yeah.
talked at the beginning of this show, I talked about that being the gratitude, being the basis for being able to manifest and create and receive things into your life. And you can see it in action, because as you're outwardly appreciating things and talking about it, not just in your head but to other people, you can see that flow of appreciation and love coming back to you as well. So it's very
Yeah.
powerful, and you can see it physically happening around you within your home and your
Yeah.
space and the relationships you have. So very powerful.
It is. And I know another really wonderful thing that happens when we're sharing things that we're grateful for with other people is that when I hear you share things that you're grateful for, it reminds me of even more things that I have to be grateful for. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. I have that to be grateful for too. And
It's
so then my awareness like expands
expands.
even more than if I just
Mhm.
focus in on thinking of three things by myself on my own.
It's so funny. Last time, everyone started being appreciative for their cats and dogs, and by the end of it, everybody knew the names of all of the other pets of everybody else in the community, and so it just expanded out from people to animals as well. It
Yes.
was really fun. It's a lovely thing to do, and I'm sure people, when they get into it, will see the real benefits of it. So thank you for giving me the chance to
Indeed.
share.
Indeed. All right. So on that very positive, happy note of being grateful and practicing our gratitude, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. And I'll encourage everyone to check the show notes, because we're going to add Beth's links in there so you can connect with her. And if she has a gratitude challenge, or rather gratitude journey happening right now, jump in and join it. And yeah, until we connect next time, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.